Hello and welcome to Below the Title. I'm Robert.
And I'm Taylor, and today we're talking the old guard. God, I'm getting good at that. That's right, we're doing Netflix movies now. Seeing as things are all still nice and COVID-esque out there, we're going to talk new release, and we're not going to a cinema anytime soon. We might as well look at what Netflix has to offer. The Old Guard stars Charlize Theron as Andy, the leader of an immortal group of warriors that have gone through time defending people and doing all sorts of good. Well, the thing is, you don't really know because
it's not really explained.
They're just there for hire, and
they're like mercenaries. They're mercenaries.
They're like mercenaries. They're not even do-gooders. They're doing it for the money. They've lived for bleeding ever, and they get hired by Chuetel Ejiofor as Copley. Got that right. I was worried I wasn't going to get that one right. He hires them to do a gig, which actually turns out to be a bit of a setup.
Mother? Let's just say we're very hard to kill.
And now they're on the run because they fear that after all these years they're going to get exposed.
So basically, yeah, they're trying to protect their legacy after all these hundreds, thousands of years, however long they've been around. They're sort of operating in the shadows, mercenaries, and somehow, yeah, it's not quite explained, but it seems that they seem to save people who end up doing good things.
Well, they don't happen to do good things, but I'm sure they've done some bad things. It doesn't really explain.
It didn't explain whether, because it would have been much cooler if they knew that the people they were saving were going to go on to do important things, but it just didn't seem like that. They were just doing these jobs, and it happened to be that they, every time, over hundreds of years, happened to save people who then did something important.
It's not like Wanted, where they had the loom of fate, which is as stupid as it sounds, but it still gave the plot a purpose, whereas this point, it doesn't really have a purpose. And the whole thing is, like, they're on the run to protect their own asses in this.
So early on, they discover there's a new immortal who's emerged in Afghanistan.
And they're all telepathically linked, and she has her first moment where she gets killed and comes back, and they all go, oh, there's another one of us.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the only time they're ever really telepathically linked.
Yeah. Well, they have a scene after that where they explain, well, after Charlize, Andy has gone in, somehow got into a military base very easily, just wandered in.
She just walks in
rescues her,
to collect her.
And then is driving away in a Humvee.
That she stole.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Well, that's after, because she stands up there on a train when they first realise, and she just steps off the train and walks off into the desert, and then just walks into an army base.
I thought she was going to jump off and just like roll off, and it was more dramatic, and she just plops off and then just walks away.
Well, that's what I thought. She gonna, like, it doesn't matter because she'll hit the ground, maybe she'll break a leg, but it will just back into place, and then she can walk off. But no, it just showed her go bloop, and then off. It
took a long time to not really get very far. This film, like, it's
2 hours and 5 minutes. It's a long film with not a lot going on in it.
It felt like the first couple of episodes of a TV series rather than a feature film, really.
It looked like a TV series as well.
Yeah.
It's funny. I sat there watching it going, oh my God, this movie just looks cheap. It looks digital. It's flatly lit. There's not once did I go, that's a really cool shot.
It was in 2:39 to 1 aspect ratio, so that's probably the only cinematic thing about it.
And then I thought, it's so cheap. And I suppose, well, there's not a lot of name actors. It probably didn't cost that much. And then afterwards I looked up, and it cost $70 million.
That's got to be...
On what? Catering?
Yeah.
And Charlize?
Yeah, she'd probably command a bit.
And Chuetel.
Yeah.
And Ejiofor. But the rest of it...
Yeah.
I suppose CG costs a
But
fair
I still
bit.
don't think there was anything of that nature, effects and action scenes, that was anything more than we've seen in TV shows that managed to do a whole series for that kind of budget.
They perfected it with Wolverine.
Yeah.
There was a good one when the guy's taken a blast to the stomach. I thought that looked, because as it grew in, you could see his guts moving around under the flesh. And that was actually nicely done. Most of the time, it was just a bit of... They had lots of bullets popping out of heads.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think they were earth-shattering visual effects. It seemed fairly standard stuff.
No, because it led to the cheap, which was $70 million.
Whenever I've seen other people talk about it online, they always mention, it's got good action scenes, but it didn't have many. And they were fairly
like 3 or 4
standard action scenes. Like, it's nothing feature film worthy.
There was one scene where Basically, they're under attack by the farmer guys who are like mercenaries themselves.
Yeah.
Charlize goes out and she's going to defend them, and she's in the church, and they show you half of the action sequence, which is admittedly a nice little action beat. And then they cut to outside the church, and they just show the gunshots going off in the windows to save half the money.
All you hear is this slight, just tiny little explosion, just a bang in the distance, and they all run in, and the whole place is this. Something's happened in there.
Yeah,
we just don't see it.
It's the old, like, look over there. Well, the other way they saved on the money in the action was all the shaky cam.
It was too shaky. That was the thing that early on annoyed me.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the shaky cam, and this movie has a lot of it, not just in action scenes, but also in dialogue scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it if it's adding a bit to an action scene or a bit of excitement. But if it's all the time in all of the other scenes as well, the quiet dramatic scenes, then it's just annoying. For a feature film, I'd expect a bit more. Like, it needs a bit more substance. This was a bit tedious. It didn't really get too far. As a film on Netflix, I guess that's the other side of it. It's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's actually still entertaining enough. I think if I'd gone to the cinema and paid money for it, I would feel like I'd been a bit ripped off. But if it's on Netflix, it's actually perfectly entertaining. Friday night, watch a film, action film, that's fine. But
isn't it amazing how we give a movie a pass because it was on Netflix?
Yeah, because you didn't have to
I didn't go out and pay real money for it, even though they've got my monthly subscription fee. But because I didn't go to a cinema and pay $40 million to see it, I sort of go, all it cost me was 2 hours and I'm in lockdown, so I have time to spare.
Yeah.
But if I'd put out $20, $25 or, God knows how much, I would have walked away from that feeling a bit,
I didn't like the choice of music throughout it. It just didn't fit.
This flick has a soundtrack that feels completely out of place for the film that it is.
Yeah.
It was like some 40 to 50-year-old went, what sounds good to the kids these days?
What are the kids listening to?
And just spattered a whole heap of top 40 sounding stuff through it.
Which even the selections weren't that good. It's not like with the music, like back in maybe this is just because we're older, but like with The Matrix, the music they used in that actually really fit and sounded really cool. I guess it was probably more the style of music that I would listen to anyway, but this just felt really out of place. It just didn't. Yeah. It didn't gel with the characters or the setting or what it just didn't fit.
I strongly recommend that we leave right now.
So speaking of characters, because we've got a motley crew of people that made up this with appropriately looking European people.
Yeah.
And see, this is the other reason why I thought it was cheap, because it has the two name actors in Charlize and Chue Etel. And then everyone else I didn't know from a bar of soap.
No.
So you had Kiki Lane as Niall. She did a good job.
Yeah.
Matthias Schoenaerts as Booker. Marwan Kenzari as Joe. And Luca Marinelli as Nikki, who were actually a couple. It was one of the few things I liked in this movie was that these two guys were in a relationship, and it was just like, oh yeah, they're a couple. Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no anything else about it. It was just like, And I thought that was the most well-handled thing in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it also has Merrick,
played
by Harry Melling, who he was so badly cast in this film. He was in Harry Potter, and I think that's why he got the job.
He was a young, hip CEO of a pharma company.
That's it. He was a young, hip CEO because you could tell because he wore a hoodie underneath his jacket.
Yeah, his business shirt and then a jacket over the top. But then in between that, he had this hoodie.
I'm surprised he didn't skateboard between meetings. Should we talk some spoilers? There's a couple of spoilers in this one, which, if you think about it, well, one of them makes perfect sense.
Spoilers.
Oh, this is the Alan pause.
Spoilers.
Fast forward to the time on the screen. 5.
Which will probably be near the end, but
3, 2, 1. Okay, so the immortality isn't permanent. It's not Highlander. The only thing will kill you is getting your head cut off. Every now and then it just goes away. And halfway through this flick, it appears that Andy's time has come.
Which the implication is that her power goes, and that's why the new immortal person sort of becomes in existence.
That's it. American, that's it. Was it Niall has gotten her immortality, whereas I saw it as, Charlize is too expensive for any sequels.
Yeah.
We can't have her around too much. So there was that, which, I mean, it sort of came into play, and it didn't really... I thought, is she going to go out in a blaze of glory, or is there going to... And it just sort of...
Was like so many of the major plot points in this film didn't really seem as key as they should have been.
More spoilers. She survives. She gets gut shot. For a woman that's been immortal most of her life, she takes being gut shot pretty well.
Yeah.
Still runs around and kicks a lot of ass.
Yeah.
Because she gets gut shot by a traitor in the team, Booker.
Yeah.
Who, up to that point, had made one comment that kind of might have made him sound or gave him a bit of a reason to be a traitor.
Yeah.
But up to that point, he had given absolutely no reason whatsoever of being a traitor.
Yeah, it did
But
just
then
come out of
suddenly,
nowhere.
he just was.
Yeah.
And I sat there watching it going, oh, so he's a traitor. Okay.
Maybe they'd been watching Fast and Furious 6. Wasn't that the chick in that became a traitor all of a sudden?
Oh, that's right. I forget all those movies, but yeah, that's right. No, such he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was a bad guy, and at the end of it, they all fight side by side to get out of Big Pharma, and they drive off together, and then she comes out and says, "You're going to be on your own for 100 years. We'll meet you back here then," knowing that she's no longer immortal, so.
Yeah.
It's goodbye. There was almost an emotion there, I felt.
Yeah, she didn't have much emotion.
She didn't have much. I had less. And then it was all a ham-fisted setup for a sequel.
One thing we haven't mentioned so far, this is based on a comic. And neither of us have read the comic. So we're coming at it purely from the film in itself. And I'm just wondering if there was a bit more depth to the characters and the story in the comic.
Normally there is.
Either there isn't, or it didn't translate into the film. And it seems like it could have been better to have, because there's a couple of books worth of the comic, over like a graphic novel. It could have been better to make this out of the whole story into, say, a limited series of 8 episodes or something like that might have worked better.
Well, I think this is a Skydance production and Netflix, but I really do think Skydance made it and went, we can't put this in the cinema. We're not going to make any fucking money if we release this properly. What are we going to do? And Netflix went, we'll take it.
Yeah.
It's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Because if Netflix had done this from the beginning, it would have been a 10-part series.
Yeah.
Limited series. And they would have probably made more of an effort.
So, yeah, I mean, when looking up at the history of it, it all seemed to be Skydance first, and then Charlize came on board, and then, all of a sudden it's just ended up in Netflix, so which is probably the best place for it.
If I had paid real money for that, I'd be going, fuck that, and we wouldn't be getting a sequel. I believe we'll be getting a sequel to this.
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to be the older guard.
Well, it's,
No, actually, knowing the originality in this, it'll be the old guard 2.
Yeah, with not white and black in the poster, but black and white.
Yeah, the poster sums up the amount of creativity in this film.
What would you rate this? I'd probably give it a
5.
I might give it a 6 out of 10.
Nah, right down the middle, 5.
That's probably a bit generous, but yeah. Yeah, look, I'd say it's not a terrible film. It's got some decent entertainment value. It's just a bit tedious, a bit lackluster. It just seems like they were holding back on it, and it's just, it didn't have that feature film scale to it.
It's just there. It's not good enough to be entertaining, to be awesome, and it's not bad enough to be entertaining either. It's just there.
Yeah.
It's 2 hours of your life that you can waste staring at your TV, and at the end of it go, I was mildly amused.
Yeah. Just move on. What next? Middle of the road.
Middle of the road. Average. So if you're looking for more entertainment while you're stuck staring at screens in lockdown, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you can see when the next episode of Below the Title comes out. And that'll do.